Hello and a very warm welcome to the Kazan Aquatics Palace for the final session here on the third day, leg 3 of 4 in the 2017 Fina NBC Diving World Series. Just been introduced now to the divers in the first discipline of this particular event, that being the 3 meters springboard women's final. There's Reid of Great Britain. Get herself a medal so far in the previous couple of legs. Well, Jennifer Abel of Canada. Looking to do so here for the first time. Wang of China. Well, she's going to be amongst the favourites. So far, we've seen Chi and Chang so far. Teaming things up with regards to the gold medals. There's she. Looking to make it a hat-trick of gold medals here in this discipline. Took the gold by some distance in Beijing as well as Guangzhou, a couple of events in China. The home tournaments for her, not too far away from home here in Kazan. And what a couple of days it has been for the Chinese. It is the understatement of the year to say that they've dominated proceedings as expected, as they did in Guangzhou. Good success also for the Russian divers. It's been a medal in every day thus far. Timashina and Minibayev we saw yesterday in the mixed 10 meter synchro final. Also Ilya Zakharov in the men's 3 meter springboard final. On the first day, well, it was Belova and Timashina who had the honour of getting themselves a bronze medal in the women's 10 meter synchro final. Also a Russian pair of Kuznetsov and Zakharov did so also in the men's 3 meters synchro final. So there are the judges and the referees that the respective divers will no doubt be looking to impress and to accumulate some decent scores as well. Plenty of money in the pot as per usual here in the World Series. 30,000 per team for the synchro events. 5,000 as well for the individual events. So medals and decent prize money to be handed out here. This is the third of 4 legs, as mentioned, the 4th leg. That starts on the 21st of April in Windsor, Canada. Look there at one of the Italian divers, Vazzotto. One of the members of the British backroom staff here, of course. Oh, there you go. Smile, you're on camera. Well, Jack Law, he's always going to smile, isn't he? You can bet your bottom dollar on that. On duty today, Jack Law. Disappointing second day it was for Jack Law. Outside the medals in 4th position behind Zakharov, Xi and Ko of China. Relax, smile and cheer on the rest of the Great Britain team here today. Of course, you'll be looking to cheer on Grace Reid. She's up in the first discipline, the women's 3 meter springboard. And in the event after that, we will have Tom Daley looking to break the Chinese stranglehold in the men's 10 meters platform final. Kristina Ilnik of Russia will be looking to get herself amongst the medals as well. We'll be diving first. Kini, Grace Reid, Jennifer Abel and Wang of China, and Shi, last but not least, also of China. Numbers here spectator-wise inside the Kazan Aquatics Palace, where the capacity is in and around 3,600. The very first session in the day on day 1, we was well short of that particular number. weekend being completed now, and the residents of Kazan have come out again in full force, looking to see competitive discipline here. I expect to see that here in this one. Jennifer Abel, while she certainly has the experience to throw her name into the hat for a medal. Go back to this venue here. Maybe snow outside here in Kazan, well into the spring now, as we've just reached a couple of days into April. It is a beautiful location, really, located on the bank of the Kazanka River. The venue had the feather in the cap and had the accolade of serving as a competition venue for the 16th Fina World Championships a couple of years ago, in fact. One of the largest indoor sports venues in Russia. Before we start off business here, well, once again it is ladies first. Let's just enjoy some of the highlights from yesterday, the second day. Again, it was a clean sweep of Chinese gold medals, as it was in Gwangju, so they remain on course here to continue their domination on proceedings, China. And Lian, Ren, as well as KO of China in the three events. They stood on top of the medal podium in the end to receive their gold medals. So, without further ado, let's start proceedings here. The final of the women's 3-meter springboard. Russia up first, and Ilnik with a straightforward dive, a tariff of 3.0. Well, the dive certainly looked decent enough at the start, lost it on entry at the end. Ilnik just about squeezed into the final here. She finished third in semi-final A in the day session today. Accumulated a total score of 303.45. Seventh all the way across the board it was in the semi-final for the Russian. Kini of Australia next up. That's a better dive, but again, just needed to straighten out the legs slightly on entry. And upright on the board, tucked in beautifully as well. Reid of Great Britain, top in semi-final A. 317.25. Didn't get off to the best of starts in her opening round of 5, but she got better with every round as it reached its climax. Number 2.5 somersault, tariff of 3.0 once again. Not touch too much splash. Different camera angle to witness that particular dive from the British diver. I think she will be slightly higher in her opening round in the semi-final. Good start here for her. Reid, still only 20 years of age, of course. Gold in last year's Euros in the mixed synchro, and a bronze as well in this discipline. So she goes to second in the leaderboard, one of the most experienced campaigners here in the field. Jennifer Abel now at 25 years of age. Bundles of experience under her belt. Her opening dive here. And with 2.5 somersaults as well. That's a nice clean dive there from the Canadian. Probably the best dive we've seen so far of the bunch. Was third, started off with a 63 in semi-final B. She's gone one better this time, 6 points better off. Move to the top of the leaderboard. Here's Wang. Good to see her here in Kazan. If the Canadians dive as good, perhaps that one's slightly better. Wang was second in semi-final B, incidentally. She's up 69 points with her opening round. Like she's brought her A game to the table here in the final. No surprises to see Wang go top, 73.50. So she, her fellow Chinese, will follow here with an inward 2.5 somersault as well. That's a splendid start. That is a splendid start. She's so much more confident in her dives right now. She made her international debut at the Gwangju Asian Games 7 years ago. Almost like a veteran now in the world of diving. Much more consistent, much more a seasoned as well as solid campaigner right now. She's just about edged out her fellow Chinese into second position. So after one round, no surprises to see. It is China in first and second. Jennifer Abel of Canada just about ahead of Madison Keeney of Australia. Reid and Ilnik of Great Britain and Russia. Second and last but not least. So moving very swiftly on into round two, a reverse 2.5 somersault with Pike here for Ilnik of Russia. Really struggled woefully with this dive in the semi-final. Can she get it right here? She certainly looked to have ironed out the kinks in the first half of the dive. Slightly erratic, slightly untidy in the second half. It was 5.5s and 6s for her, even by the judges in the semi-final. She would go better than that. Madison Keeney. Huge amount of splash, but all in all, it's another solid dive there from the Australian. He's up on his feet, that's a good sign. Holding that together, the water coming just about on time there for Madison Keeney. She's better off than where she was in the semi-final. Grace Reid, forward 3.5 somersault. Difficulty of 3.1 here for the Brit. That's lovely height off the board. The entry needed a touch more work on it. Not quite vertical enough. In a nice distance from the board, all in all. Seen better though from Grace Reid. If she did have any aspirations of a medal, well, perhaps maybe just knocked down a peg or two with her second dive. There's the scores, sixes all the way there for the British diver into third position. She's such a powerful diver. Here's the Canadian Jennifer Abel. The height, the distance from the board, as per usual, is spot on. Into the tuck. Again, it's on entry where she just needs to hone her skills slightly. So here's Wang. $50 question here for Wang is, does she have what it takes here to hurt Shi? Attention for that gold medal. Well, she may have just emphatically answered that question there with that dive. Good effort again. Touch of distance of the eights in the semi-final of her scores from the judges. She is again eights all the way, an 8.5 chalked off, so she's in a good place right now, is Wang. And she's doing enough here to keep Shi honest about things. A better camera angle there to see Shi get to work again. Round by round, she just flexed her muscle, so to speak, at Beijing as well as Guangzhou. And the winning margin was very healthy, to say the least. Not as good as her first dive, but good enough again to get solid marks. We've seen better from Shi, but it's still good enough to see her get herself back into first position after 2 rounds of 5. So there it is, and very close, too close for comfort really, for the bronze medal. Keeney, Abel and Ilnik, well, all in with a shout of that. You're probably looking at 1 from 3 as we speak, unless Grace Reid can just up the ante slightly. Ilnik, after the second round, he's certainly in contention. This is where she slightly wobbled in the semi-final. The entry wasn't the best, to say the least. Very untidy, very scrappy entry. Down hugely for that dive, I believe. And it is confirmation of exactly that. Again, no improvements on the scores from the semi-final there for Ilnik of Russia. Such a daylight here at the end of the tunnel for the Australian. If she could just be watertight with this dive. Time, that's set. And there's the application at the end there from Madison Keeney. Again, it's a consistent dive from the Australian. Good enough to bag herself a bronze in the first two legs, Keeney. She remains on course here to mirror that feat once again. 7.5 and a couple of 7, 64.50. That's a touch under the 200 mark, into first position for the moment at least. So Grace Reid. Looking to get herself a better dive this time, round 3. And that's slightly better. Enjoyed that dive actually. So did he. Big improvement there from Reid. She's into the silver medal position for the moment at least, Reid. Able to stretch her legs here and get a medal perhaps. So it's been the Achilles heel of Abel throughout the entire World Series really. Latter stages of the dive. That one was much better than the previous dive. But again, just have to admire the height, the power off the board from the Canadian. Well, things really beginning to heat up now for the bronze medal. And slightly academic right now. The silver and perhaps the gold are going. Wang here, the penultimate dive in the round of 3. A wonderful dive. That is a wonderful dive. That is not who the Chinese send. Bet you bottom dollar it'll all be consistency personified. That dive certainly was. Well, she's thrown the gauntlet down to Shi. I mentioned it earlier, Shi will have to remain honest. Competitive here, and that's exactly what you want to see. Our countrywomen pushing each other here to the limit. Now, can she get into the 8.5s, maybe even a 9 thrown in for good measure here, Shi. Reverse 2.5 somersault this time. Well, I think she can, you know. She rose to the challenge there with that dive. I think she will be looking at 9s for this. I really believe that. Well, you can hear the response from some of the audience here in Kazan. Wait for the scores to come up, but that's a good sign for her. Well, there it is. 2 9s and an 8.5. Business as usual for Shi. She's back where she belongs at the top of the leaderboard. So it's almost 10 points. It's 9 points, in fact, and you have to believe that may be good enough with a couple of rounds still to go. Madison Keeney, well, she's just about ahead of Jennifer Abel in the bronze medal position. Grace Reid and the Russian here on the board. Ilnik, well, they have some work to do. It is Jennifer Abel in this round that has cranked up the difficulty with a tariff of 3.4. And that is 3s and 3.1s all the way across the 6 competitors. The coaches seem to like that, and that's half the battle. Easy coaches. Hope that the judges / referees also will be delighted. Again, we've seen a better dive from her in her career. Not the best camera angle either, but again, nowhere near vertical enough. A touch too much splash in the angle. Again, slightly off kilter. She doesn't look best pleased, does she? Keeping concentration there. Just listening to the words of her coach. So next up, Madison Keeney with a fight on her hands here for the bronze medal. And she may have just risen to the fight, laying down a challenge here to Jennifer Abel of Canada. She won't give up the ghost in this medal without one. Very technically sound, nice into the tuck, and again, the entry well could have been better. Good enough. Well, she's 30 points ahead from where she was at in the semi-final in the day session. Grace Reid next up. And finish up here with a wooden spoon, Grace Reid. Well, they just do that. Quite looking as pleased to be seen with a couple of dives there, the coach of Madison Keeney, Mr. Hinchcliffe. It's all part of the learning curve here for Grace Reid, just looking to collate vital experience, and again, that's not the best dive in the world. Judge is also taking a dim view to the entry as well, so looking very likely like it's Ilnik and Reid who will be fighting out for the wooden spoon. Jennifer Abel, well, she's higher up in the food chain, fighting out here for a bronze. Well, she went for a fairly difficult dive here, Abel, and you just wonder if that decision will be vindicated. Preparation again, the height was good. The twist in, hit the water just about in time. Well, that's a response you want to see from your coach. On his feet, encouraging. He would have been very encouraged with what he's seen so far here from Abel. So Wang, 9 points behind her fellow Chinese Shi at the start of this round. Chance here to chip away at the lead. Well, it doesn't matter what Chinese diver you watch, you know that you're going to get a solid dive, and that one also was up there with them, ticked most of the boxes. That you just have to think that perhaps that dive is good enough to fend off any challenge for the silver medal, but perhaps slightly short on whether it's good enough to hurt. Chances here of making inroads into the deficit for a gold medal. We'll soon find out, as it is Shi next up, last but not least. Final dive here in the round of 4. Sets the dive up beautifully. The rest of the Chinese team there certainly looked happy with that dive. And she will be marked down for the entry from the judges. Dive certainly looked good enough to consolidate her position in first slot, and so it is. She's breached the 300 mark here as Shi with one final round to go. She was 12 points down on that in the semi-final, so she's left enough gas in the tank here. That lead now has been stretched slightly here by a point. She looking pretty, looking fine and dandy here for another gold medal. And Wang also looking in good shape here to grab another silver medal for the Chinese. So I said at the start of the last round that Ilnik and Grace Reid will be looking to fight each other here side by side to see who will be last and second from last. That's exactly the two positions here as we go into the final round. Just got a glimpse there at the vice chairman of Russian Aquatics. Crowd liked it, he liked it. And the next instalment of the trilogy is, will the judges like it? Certainly looked like a decent dive to round off business here for the Russian. Couple of untidy rounds, round 2 and 3 really, but that's a nice dive to end her campaign with. And there she is, there's the smile. Well done, that lady. So 304.65, that's respectable there for Kristina Ilnik of Russia. Now, this is where things get slightly interesting here. Madison Keeney, a bronze medalist twice. Again, whoops and cheers from the crowd. And a nod of approval there from not one, but 2 of her coaches. Into the twist beautifully, and again, on entry again. That has been the undering, that has been the Achilles heel. Keeney. So let's have a look at the scores here. 2 6.5 and a 7 now. If your name is Jennifer Abel, you'd have been buoyed, you'd have been delighted to see those scores given out there to the Aussie. Grace Reid rounds off with a forward 2.5 somersault, 1 twist and pike. Decent enough dive there from Grace Reid. It's a solid dive really when you see it. It looks even better on the slow-mo. Much straighter on entry than we saw in round 3 and 4. So there we are, there's the scores. 3:01.80 for Grace Reid. Much better in semi-final A early on in the day session. Now, we've yet to see Canada get any medal so far. And here we are on the 3rd day. Could this be the moment here for Canada? Or perhaps it may just be, take back what I said, they did get a medal earlier on in the first day, Benfito and Mackay as a pair. See them get a medal, just the one diver up on the board. So I think that could be the bronze winning medal dive from Jennifer Abel of Canada. Oh, 347.15. That is a splendid total that she's accumulated, Abel. We've seen 313, 327 at Beijing get a silver and a bronze, slightly higher at Gwangju, 360 and 357. That's been the yardstick. Wang here looking to sign off here with another consistent dive. And I think she has as well. Technically very sound as a diver. Got most of the technicality spot on in that dive as well. Well, for the moment at least. Han Wang is at the top of the leaderboard, 363.85. Again, very, very solid dive. So she looking to make it now a hat-trick of gold medals in the Fina NVC Diving World Series. Just has to piece everything together, and that's exactly what will happen. Oh, she's done exactly that as well. Another dive that was so pleasing to see, another dive that was so easy on the eye. Plenty of weight with regard to Chinese support in the crowd, as it was yesterday as well, in the evening session on day number 1. So we've seen her hit the 9s with 1 round here so far. She looks great, doesn't it? Just looks fantastic. Hear the reaction from the crowd, and there's the reason why. 381.90, slightly down on the 391 and 395 at Beijing and Guangzhou, but all in all, was it any doubt at all that she was going to get the gold? Perhaps not. So there it is. There's the results confirmation. A Chinese 1-2 yet again. Congratulations to Jennifer Abel of Canada. Touch under, 6 points ahead of Madison Keeney. First medal so far in the women's 3-meter springboard for the Canadian. It's been the same order all the way through in the first couple of legs. Order has slightly changed this time. No doubt she'll be absolutely delighted with that. That was a peck in the cheek there from Mr. Law. Cheeky. Cheeky chappy that he is. Trying his luck, and why not? Spending a lot of time with each other on the tour. So Chinese once again have bagged another gold medal, and they are 2 disciplines away now, China, from matching their exploits at Guangzhou. Quick break here. Let's enjoy the highlights here at the women's 3-meter springboard final. And shortly, once the highlights are done and dusted, next up here that we will view, it will be the 10 meters platform men's final, and of course, stiff competition there. Tom Daley of Great Britain going against the Chinese. We'll see, of course, Yang and Shen of China, looking to see who will get the bragging rights with regards to perhaps some kind of medal. So don't go away. We'll be back here very, very shortly. Welcome back to the action here. Discipline number 2 or 3 on the final day here in Kazan. Very shortly we'll be up and underway, and no doubt about it, it is one of the blue ribbon, one of the premier events so far across the board. The men's 10 metres platform final. The only other one perhaps that could compare with it is the men's 3 metre springboard. Of course it is, once again, one of the British divers, Tom Daley, looking to break the stranglehold of the Chinese divers, as Jack Law tried and failed yesterday. Again, we are now being introduced to the divers. First out, it is the Russian, Viktor Minibayev. Well, he's already got himself a medal so far this week, the first day in the mixed 10 metres synchro final with Timoshina. Dominic Bedgood of Australia. A diver with some weight to his resume. It's a stacked field here, and it's a field stacked with star quality in this event, so it should make compelling viewing from round 1 all the way up to round 5. Benjamin Offray of France, a 21-year-old, twice the national champion. 4th in Rio. There's Tom Daley, doesn't need any introduction whatsoever. Good form in the semi-final in the day session, as was Shen. What a competitor this fella is. Gets better and better, just continues to go on from strength to strength. So there are the protagonists, looking to go for the gold, silver as well as the bronze medals respectively. The crowd have come out in good numbers here, and they are expected to see a very competitive final. I expect that as well, as it was in Guangzhou. What an accolade it was for Chen of China the last time around in the second leg, with 12 perfect marks and a score total of 601.15 points from 6 dives. Times Olympic champion, Chen proved his reputation already in his home competition, winning the gold medal on the last day there. Also helped his country to make it a clean sweep of 10 gold medals that were on offer. There's the referees and the judges as well. And the ladies, that the respective divers will no doubt look to impress. Was such an interesting final the last time around in Guangzhou. He was below par in the semi-final, Chen, but he showed resilience and he showed consistency in the final and accuracy with every round, from round 1 to round 6. 3 dives with over 100 points and a day high of 109.15 for his 109C dive. The individual platform, gold once again. Did so at Beijing. Score accumulation of 556.25, just about squeezed out the challenge of his fellow Chinese Yang, just a couple of points behind him at Beijing. Well, it was anything but close at Guangzhou. And Shen finished streets ahead of Tom Daley at 601.15, as mentioned, ahead of Daley's 531.45, 5 points ahead of Yang last time around in Guangzhou. So there are our 6 finalists, 2 Chinese, a Frenchman, a Russian, an Aussie, and last but not least, Benjamin Offray of France. Interesting to see how he gets on today, Tom Daley. Certainly looking back to his solid best in the semi-final, where he won semi-final A, 502.4 points, way ahead of the Frenchman. Of course, the Chinese 1-2 in semi-final B, with Chen finishing way ahead of Yang in the end. After a shaky start from Daley at Guangzhou, from behind to seal and wrap up a silver medal in the end. 407C, well, that was the Achilles heel of the Brit. That's just 56 points to him. Previous week dive of Daley, well, that was the 5172B. We'll see that from Daley in round 3. The twisting dive that was his weakest one. He had a decent score last time. He was frustrated not to get a decent score on that combination. Let's see how he does here in Kazan. So this is where it's nerves of steel time, isn't it? Warm down pool, just gathering your thoughts. What needs to be done, contemplating dive after dive in your head. To please the crowd. There's a wonderful support here for the Chinese divers, and they're now 2 disciplines from again making it a clean sweep of gold medals. Well, with regards to Tom Daley, already he has a bronze medal. He got there the first day. The men's 10 meters synchro final with Daniel Goodfellow. So far on every day we've seen one Russian, male or female, get themselves a medal. And that's what the crowd are hoping. They're also expecting to see here today. It's over to Viktor Minibayev to go ahead and please the crowd here. It's a wonderful venue here for the world of aquatics. Snowy and cold outside the Kazan Aquatics Palace, but it's warm up close and personal. Very delightful inside the arena, no doubt about it. So sit down, relax, and feast your eyes on what we hope will be yet another competitive event here. And the crowd now are about to raise the decibel level, and that means only one thing. It is a Russian here who will get the ball rolling with the opening dive. The men's 10 meters platform final. Have to get up and underway here. Viktor Minibayev of Russia will start off with an inward 3.5 somersault with tuck, a difficulty tariff of 3.2. Slightly heavy on the entry there for the Russian. The camera angle not the best to see all the elements of the dive. Here we go on the replay. Got all the elements in good time before he hit the water. 472.15 was his total in the semi-final, finishing behind Chen and Yang. And he opened up with 76.80, so he's down on that already in his first dive, round 1 of 6. Bedgood next up, bronze medalist in the mixed 10 meter synchro platform final yesterday with Wu. Good up here with an arm stand, back 2 somersaults, 2.5 twists. Very difficult dive to start off business here for the Aussie. He held it for a while. Certainly worth the wait, really. The ending could have been slightly better. All in all, a very difficult dive to start off with, and I think you'll get some decent marks all the way across the board for that one. A whopping 84.60 in the semi-final earlier on. Go. Exact same scoreline here for the Australian, right on the money again. Good start. So here's Yang of China. Oh, that is beautiful. Best dive thus far by a country mile. Well, we saw some wonderful scores, some perfect scores at Gwangju from the judges. That one near perfection. He's a very polished performer, isn't he, just? It gets better and better the more you view it. There's the scores as well. Got close, but not close enough to gold at Beijing, Yang. Slightly out of form at Gwangju. There's a wonderful start here. And here's the 21-year-old Frenchman. Well, that ain't too shabby either. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. As good as the last dive, but I think it's good enough again to put himself perhaps in a medal position at the end of the first round, perhaps. Into the bronze medal position. He is 83.20 there for Offray of France. Tom Daley, he was third after the first round in the semi-final. Third all the way up until round 5. He starts off with a difficulty tariff of 3.4, reverse 3.5 somersaults with tuck. The crowd certainly enjoyed that minimal splash there from Tom Daley of Great Britain. The dive we've seen him nail time and time again in his sleep throughout his career. Nice and compact with regards to the rotation as well as the tuck. And that's an excellent start. You couldn't wish to see a better dive. That's a better dive than we saw from him in the semi-final. Well, how about that, Mr. Daley? He gets a 10 and a couple of 9.5s. Now that already, as early as it is, showing us that Daley means business here with regard to the medal shake-up. Come on, Chen, certainly has mirrored the exploits there of Tom Daley, no doubt about it. Well, it has been a battle royale between the two throughout the World Diving Series, and here in Kazan, certainly looking like it's no different. That isn't going to be far off perfect scores either. Look how vertical he is on entry into the water. Picture perfect there on the slow-mo. So a brief chat with his coach, and there's the scores just behind Daley. No 10s this time for Chen, but all in all, not the scores he's been given there. So one diver out, the next diver in. Waiting to open up the second round is Victor Manibayev, and there are the standings after one round. Tom Daley ahead of Chen, ahead of Yang, and already there's some daylight between Daley and Yang. So he really has turning things up a notch or two here, Manibayev, with a very difficult dive. Preparation was decent enough, but the ending, well, slightly the opposite, really. Very competitive field it is here for the Russian to even contemplate snaring himself a medal. 53.25. 7.5 all the way there for Minibayev of Russia. Well, this is one of the lowest scores in the semi-final for Dominic Bedgood of Australia. This is where he lost ground. I certainly believe he's put the record straight here in the final. That's a very clean dive. I think he'd be absolutely delighted with that. 8 all the way, 76.80. And a fist bump with his coach to boot. So here's the first of the two Chinese divers in the field of 6. Held that beautifully. He ended it beautifully as well. He's got some ground to make up here, Yang. He's gone about it there in the best possible fashion. Excellent dive again. You can hear there the Tannoy system, the scores being given out from the judges, and now we have confirmation again. It's some perfect scores there for Yang. Well, I said this was the blue ribbon event, perhaps spread across the 3 days here in Russia. So it's proved to be with regard to the scores. Difficult here for the Frenchman to go after that one, but just has to tick all the boxes, and he's done that with that dive as well. Won't get perfect scores, but consistent with regard to being high up in the 7s. Tom Daley next up. 3.5 somersault here for Britain's finest. And he's got that one spot on as well, Daley. Certainly looks up for the task today. He's in a good mood here to cause some damage limitation. Got himself a 10 with his last dive. That may be a bridge too far this time around, but again, it's enough to keep the two Chinese divers honest. Enough to consolidate his position, surely in the medal positions. 78.40 for Daley. Down on what he was in the semi-final. Now we've seen way high up in the 500s. That's been the target for the medal position so far in Russia. Well, similar kind of vein, really. And on entry, that's perhaps the worst dive we've seen so far from Chen. They certainly like the look of it. It may be, but again, such a solid campaigner, very, very consistent with regard to the marks that he always gets. Has proved to be as well, already up to 196.65. So with that now, the order has changed slightly here at the top of the leaderboard. Tom Daley now slightly down in the food chain from second to third. And Chen of China just continues to go onwards and upwards and continues to be the man to beat. So halfway through competition. 3 of 6, Viktor Minibayev again of Russia. That's much better. That could be there with his best dive so far. Up with a fairly solid, a fairly competent dive did the Russian. Making business here in round 3. So for the moment at least, up into pole position. Commonwealth gold medalist in 2014, Dominic Bedgood at 22 years of age. Next up here on the board. And all in all, that ain't bad at all. Distance away from the board. Shape of the dive, beautiful all the way throughout it as well. His scores, so good enough to make inroads into the leaders in first, second and third position respectively. Now, question marks here against Yang as to whether he can get some perfect scores here to chip away at the deficit from his fellow Chinese. Well, I think he may just get close to that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that dive at all. Check this out. Well, you can hear the applause from the crowd. You can hear the scores on the Tanos system, and now you can see the scores. Look at that. Hao Yang of China, take a bow. Again, I mentioned it before. I have to reiterate how difficult it is for the Frenchman to follow a dive of that magnitude. He can do his best, and he's done that again. Looking at 7.5, perhaps even some 8s as well. The penultimate dive here in the third round. And Mr. Tom Daley next up on the board, 3.6. The dive where he had his issues in Gwangju. See if he can eradicate those demons here and get himself back in contention here silver or perhaps even a gold medal. Oh, he got the twist in and he got to the water just about in good time, Daley. And the British flag here on parade inside the Kazan Aquatics Palace throughout the 3 days. He has indeed brushed aside those demons there with that dive, Daley. Back in business, back to his very best. So into second position for the moment here, Daley. Chen, we've seen a near perfect score again here. Very difficult dive though. Well, perhaps we won't be looking at perfect scores all the way across, but again, confident enough dive there from the Chinese. His best dive so far, but again, good enough. Well, what a conundrum now here for Chen of China. Conundrum is now that Yang, after a wonderful third round where he got near perfect scores here from the judges, we've seen him overtake Chen now in the gold medal position. Daley, he has a good buffer between himself and Dominic Bedgood of Australia. 3 rounds still to go. Well, Daley, well, he still has to believe that the gold medal is still is in his grasp, so we'll see. That's another decent dive there from the Russian. Certainly has stepped up to the plate so far today in his home event. A very solid campaigner in the semi-final. Did well to get to the final. And once he's got himself here, he hasn't disgraced himself at all. Dominic Bedgood has to get this dive perhaps up in the high 9s, 9.5s, to try and chip away at the lead that Tom Daley has against him right now. That is a very good dive, actually. Well, he's smiling. Enjoying a very good final so far, Dominic Bedgood. You need a dive to go awry from the divers in the medal positions to have some hope, perhaps, but Yang. The hardest tariffs here in the round of 4. Oh, it mattered not, because he made that dive look so easy. splash whatsoever. Have the toes over the edge of the board either. Kept the rotation synchronized beautifully. $390.50 here for Yang. Ready up on the 365.40 from the semi-final. Here's Benjamin Offray of France. Oh, Gang, that's another very good dive. I said it before, the competition in this discipline certainly is red hot. Everywhere you look through the field of 6 here, there are Olympic medalists, championship medalists. They're the solid season campaigners, know how to rack up decent scores. Just beginning to heat up now, and again it is compelling viewing. So here's Tom Daley once again, an arm stand back, 3 somersaults this time for the Brit. One of his highest scores, he racked up in the semi-final earlier on today. Well, he held that for a long time, Tom Daley. And again, it was a dive that was certainly worth the wait. It's a job very well done indeed again from Daley. I think he will surpass the total that I just mentioned that he got in the semi-final with that. Certainly not looking to throw in the towel with regard to his hunt for his first gold medal here. 94.50. An excellent score, so he's into the silver medal position with the last dive of the round of 4 of 6. Oh, Chen not messing around again, is he? Only be 21 years of age, Chen, but already the Olympic gold medalist. Looking to make it a hat-trick of gold here, and again, that is going to be another score that perhaps will be near perfection. Near perfection it is, 9.5s, all the way there for Chen. Absolutely nothing to choose between Yang and Chen. It's the old cigarette paper job. Look at that. Touch over 1 point the difference between the pair. Tom Daley, well, he's got some work to do. Still has 2 rounds to put that work into progress. Minibayev, well, he's eased himself up the leaderboard now into 4th position. Right on cue, here he is, starting off proceedings in the 5th round. This is the round where the tariff difficulties certainly do get cranked up. There he is, right on the side of the board almost. Back 3.5 somersault with pike this time for the Russian diver. Oh, that went horribly wrong at the end. A half grimace on the face of his coach. Let's have another look at this. Out Well, but all in all, that will be one of his worst scores, no doubt about it. A disappointing round 5 there for Viktor Minibayev. To contemplate into the 6th and final round. So here's Dominic Bedgood. Slightly lower on the tariff. A much better dive though than the last. It's safe. Safety first option there has paid dividends, and the Aussie will bear the fruits of his labour with that dive. Up in the 8th with that, I expect to see. Indeed he is, 8.5 all the way, 84.15 again. To be solid and consistent as he was at Beijing by breaching the 400 points mark, which he should do. As his last dive goes horribly wrong. So here's Yang. Yang has to get this right. And he has. Would have cleaned up the entry. That's perhaps where he will lose marks. Apart from that, the rest of the dive looked very competent. See the legs there. Not quite straight enough. Chen now, after that dive, perhaps will have a chance to capitalise on it. Let's see what the scores are here from the judges. There you go. No, he's better than that. Let's wait now for Yang to see what his fellow Chinese will produce of his dive. So an arm stand back, 3 somersaults here for the Frenchman. Again, showing us what a solid diver that he is. Still very much work in progress is Offray, but work in progress, slowly but surely, is there for all of us to see. I like the look of that dive. Happy enough, doesn't he? There's his coach. So Tom Daley here, forward 4.5 somersaults with tuck. So there himself and the 2 Chinese divers have put their cards on the table for the higher tariffs. Can he execute this here, Daley? Oh, I think he has. There she is. Over it there. Reid just about breaking out into a smile. Just an effort there. Difficult dive for Tom Daley. Up to a total score now of 448.40, Tom Daley. That's above his semi-final score, but he will know that he'll need to perhaps breach the 565.70 mark here to give himself a chance of a gold. This fella does it time and time again. Retreat slightly the undoing there for Chen. Will be marked down for that, of course. that entry, perhaps he can kiss goodbye to anywhere near a perfect score. So, 7.5 and a couple of 8s there at the climax of the 5th round of 6. So one final round to go. Well, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because the final round, this could prove to be Yang of China looking for his first gold at the 3rd attempt here in the World Diving Series. He has a touch of breathing space now between himself and Chen Daley. Certainly looking odds on like it will be a bronze medal for him. Two Chinese divers throw away their final dives. So here we go again. Viktor Minibayev of Russia, first up in the final round. Currently last but not least. Not his best dive of the 6, but I think he'll be well satisfied with his business here today. The elements in good time. Minibayev won't receive a medal like he did yesterday, where with Timoshina bagged himself the silver behind Lian and Lian of China. So all in all, get himself down into down pool and enjoy the rest of the dive. So here's Dominic Bedgood next up for Australia. Oh, gang, that's another splendid effort from him. Enjoyed watching him dive today. Still learning his craft, still honing his skills, but again, he's very willing and he's certainly very able as well. The scores for Dominic Bedgood again, 485.65. I think he has to be satisfied with what he showed us today. So here's Yang of China. Started in the gold medal position, final dive. What can he produce? An excellent dive, that's exactly what he can produce. Get up in the 9s, you'll have to believe the gold is his. You see it on the replay. Lucky to do so. There are his scores. A wave to the camera. Well done, Mr. Yang. 7.5 all the way across. So will that be enough here for him to grab the gold? No medal here for Offray of France. Getting a very solid dive to round off proceedings from his end anyway. Judges certainly enjoyed that dive. They liked exactly what they saw. That's the reason why and he has 9s all the way. So Tom Daley, it's been the usual suspects with regards to the medals so far, Beijing as well as Gwangju. Here is one of those usual suspects. Another excellent showing there from Tom Daley. Needed to see that on the different camera angle, but all in all, I think the coaches of the Great Britain team, as well as Tom Daley, have to be satisfied with what has been produced here. Again, we've seen him up in the 9s. We've seen him achieve a 10 as well today, Daley. For the moment, Daley is in the silver medal position, 543.80. That is his best score that he's racked up so far in this leg number 3. Final dive, Chen of China. And he's looking to out Daley here for the silver medal. And I think that may just have done it. It may also have bagged him a gold. It's another sweep here for the Chinese. Have to see how good that dive was, because that could be the gold winning medal dive. Yang, his teammate, didn't get scores. Perhaps he needed to hold on to that gold. He has. Chen done it at the last attempt once again. We'll have to see. We'll soon find out. Well, it's a warm embrace, and Chen, would you believe it, he has done it again. Well, you just cannot write off this guy. Write him off at your peril. He got himself the perfect scores, 9.5, just when he needed it as well. And again, Chen has edged out the challenge laid down from Yang, and it is a hat-trick of golds now. And here are the standards. We expected it to be competitive. Chen and Yang, well, it ebbed and flowed. The positions changed, but right at the business end with the final dive, Chen pulled out all the stops. And there it is. Almost 6 points the difference between the pair. It was even tighter at Beijing. One-way traffic at Gwangju. A lot tighter here in Kazan. But Chen, once again, is the gold medalist in the men's 10 meters platform final. So let's enjoy the highlights. Tom Daley again, unable to bridge the gap between himself and the 2 Chinese divers. Again, no embarrassment, no shame in that whatsoever. He was a silver medalist at Gwangju. He's been notched down now into the bronze medal position. So again, it was the same divers as we expected to see. We'll be on the medal rostrum later on for the medal ceremony. Have to tip your hat to Chen, 21 years of age now, Olympic gold medalist at Rio last year. Long way, of course, from the Olympics in Tokyo, but you have to believe that he will be there or thereabouts once again with regards to being in contention for the medals. So once again, for the second time, it is a short break here in Kazan. So one final discipline to go before we bring the curtain down here on leg 3 of 4 in the Fina NVC Diving World Series. So do stick around, and when we return, it will be the final of the 3 meters springboard mixed. So again, stick around, we'll be back very shortly. Just one final hurdle to go for another clean sweep of gold medals for China. Wang and Li, well, certainly in good shape. They're in fine fettle for the task ahead. They bagged the gold at Gwangju. They did so also at Beijing. Distance, well, that was slightly more marginal at Gwangju in the second leg than it was at Beijing, where the outcome wasn't in any doubt whatsoever. Again, may it be on Chinese soil, but they have good support in the crowd here today. Always the interesting feature here of this third leg of four, with Windsor still to come, the 21st of April, as to whether the Chinese would continue to dot the I's and cross the T's and pick up gold medal after gold medal after gold medal. So far, here we are, almost at the conclusion of business here in Russia. That's exactly what's happened. So 4 medals were bagged on the first day, 3 yesterday, 2 from 3 so far today. Chinese will be diving last in the field of 7 as we await for that door to slide open very shortly. For the divers slash protagonists to make their way through, give us a wave, and parade themselves in front of another expectant crowd here. So Great Britain have now left Europe, looking to leave Kazan here with another medal. Reid and Tom Daley were their first out. And here are the Italians, good to see them here. Bozzotto and Baccetti as well. So here's Bazina and Viktor Minibayev, just as dried himself off from the men's 10 meters platform final. He's back in business here. Here are the Mexicans, Hernandez, Monzon and Pacheco. Mr. Quinn and Matthew Alexander Carter of Australia. Now we've seen Keeney and Bedgood get a bronze at Gwangju and the silver medal at Beijing. So on duty here it is Jennifer Abel, after getting a bronze medal earlier on in the day. And last but not least, it is the heavy favourites here to bag the gold medal, Wang and Li of China, the all-conquering Wang and Li. Been introduced to the divers, and to introduce the most important people here, perhaps they're the ones giving out the marks. Synchronisation, of course, we'll be looking for, and it's fair to say the judges look synchronised himself with regard to the dress code. Head to top, all in white. The lineup, there is the order, final event of the day. The divers, the judges, everybody else concerned can perhaps go ahead and enjoy themselves before they fly back to their respective countries. So 5 rounds here. You certainly have to look towards the Chinese for the gold medal. Silver and the bronze, well, that's there for the taking, really. Whoever can step up to the plate. We've seen the British flag in the crowd on many occasions so far. A couple of British towels as well, and a couple of British divers. So, Reid and Tom Daley. First up here, last event, the mixed 3 meters synchro final. Decent enough. Synchronization perhaps is where they will be marked down. Reid very quickly, a lot quicker into the twist than her partner. Late thrown in for the synchronization. 7.5s there for the execution. So Bertocci, as well as Vazotto now of Italy. Next up, again, bread and butter dive. Taris as per usual in the first rounds in the 3 meter events. That's a nice clean start there for the Italians. Consistent marks to both the execution as well as the synchronization. Over the 50 mark there for the Italians. Next up it is the home competitors, Bazina and Minibayev of Russia. Again, that is a nice clean start, solid diving again. Perhaps be on parade again, giving out the medals. And if he'll be giving out a medal to a couple of Russian divers, he certainly hopes so, as do the crowd. And again, they've gone about their business there in very confident fashion. So Hernandez, Monzon and Pacheco of Mexico. And the dive 2.0 again, the difficulty. Nice shot off the board there from both. I think should be happy with that. Nothing wrong with that dive, really. Certainly slightly better than the execution. Better view of that there on the replay. Nothing wrong with the entry as well. They go top with that, the Mexicans, 50.40. So here's Keenan Carter of Australia. Another inward dive to start off proceedings with. Quite sure that was as good as the Mexicans' dive, but again, synchronization was decent enough. The execution perhaps slightly better. Just under the 50s, 49.20 there for the Australian pair. Next up it is the Canadians. Imbo Delac and Jennifer Abel. Will they be able to grab a medal here? We know at the conclusion of this event. And again, that's a nice clean start. There's too much water on entry though from Abel, perhaps, is where this will come off, but again, you can get good power off the board. They're up there, certainly with the best of them on the female side of things. So 48.60, fifth position as we speak after the first round. And here are the Chinese now, Wang and Li. Forward 1.5 somersaults with pike. Again, it's splendid. Champagne dive to start off with there for the Chinese. Their marks, and it is business as usual. They've reached the 50 mark as expected there with their first dive. After the first round, the Chinese are top of the leaderboard, ahead of the Italians, just about ahead of the Mexicans and Russia. So joint first positions, I should say, by 4 teams. So there's a surprise there. Reid and Daley, a reverse dive in their second. Oh, that's better. I think the synchronization mark should be slightly higher than opposed to their first dive. Hitting the water as one this time, and there's the reason why. This Reid wears a smile. So reached the 50s this time, 50.4 up to a total of 96. Patocci and Vazzotto of Italy. And the execution certainly looked honed enough. The synchronization perhaps is where they will be marked down. We saw yesterday from the Italians in the men's 3 meters synchro final. And they started off in the easier tariffs where they looked polished enough. As the tariffs got more difficult, that's where they really kind of fell off the radar, so to speak. Russians again, hence the cheers from the crowd. Zina and Minibayev. Yeah, the crowd liked that one. That one was certainly good enough as well to see them get some solid scores. Just about scraping things up at the right moment there on entry into the water. Kicked out the legs just in the nick of time. You can see the reason why 7.5 there thrown in for the execution. Decent enough there on the synchronization. start by the Mexicans. Can they back that up here with their second dive? The synchronization all over the shop, really, but I saw 4 teams or 4 pairs in joint first position. Will be spread out slightly more now at the conclusion of round 2 after seeing that last dive. On in the water a good distance before her partner in the bronze medal position at the moment. So next up are the Australians. That dive there should be good enough to shake things up here. Looking to make it 3 medals at the 3rd attempt. Better indication there for the slow-mo. Just how neat and tidy dive that was, really. Synchronization has been there in their first couple of dives there. Just a touch under the 50 mark, though. Imbo Dulac and Abel. Abel, again, such a powerful diver off the board. A good height, but she was in the water. Again, a good distance before her partner. More height there from Imbo Dulac. As they're undoing in the end. Still struggling to get within touching distance of the 50s here, the Canadians. Plenty of dives to do so, but certainly time and time again breach the 50 mark. It's Wang and Lee. Final dive in the second round. And they sign off with another decent effort, another splendid dive. That is not whether it's a low or high tariff. Make it look so simple. The simplicity at its best. There's the scores. Synchronization higher as per usual. A couple of 8.5s and 1 8, 8.5 and an 8 for the execution. With that, that is good enough to see China now chisel out a slight lead on the Australians. Nothing between the Australians and the Russians. The Italians just behind. Expected this to be a very tight discipline as we are just about to embark on the third round. Exactly what we got. Reid and Daley of Great Britain once again. The crowd certainly enjoying seeing these pair dive. Nice synchronization out on entry. Grace Reid slightly could have cleaned that up, but all in all, it's not bad at all. Forward 2.5 somersaults with a twist here for the Italians. Entry. What the undoing, but all in all, the first half of that dive certainly looked good enough from the Italians. Needed to be slightly tighter together. In there from Tochi, but again, be pleased so far with their business. Well, it's been a medal on every day so far for the Russians. And they keep that trend up here. And possibly with that dive as well. There have been more vertical and entry. The synchronization there, where we see with Bazina into the water slightly earlier than her partner. Just lengthen things out in the nick of time again, Minibayev. And there's Monzon and Pacheco again here. Back 2.5 somersault with Pike for the Mexicans. All in all, again, a good dive there from a couple of decent divers. Entry really could have been better if you want to pick some holes in it. With regards to the height off the board from both as well. So perhaps could be good enough to see them in the medal positions here at the end of this round. Canadians and the Chinese still to go. Second position at the start of this round, Kim and Carter. Whoops, a wooze from the crowd. That's always a good sign. Camera pans on to their respective coach. They'll always give you an indication as well. Again there, the synchronization could have been better. So 7.5s, not once but twice for the execution, slightly lower there for the synchronization. So still in a decent place, they're still in a decent position right now, the Canadians, for a medal. Oh yes indeed. Beautifully entry into the water again. Picture perfect, so all in all, I think they'll receive good marks for that. So they're in fourth as we speak here. Abel, as well as her partner, Bo Dulac. So last but not least, it is Wang and Li of China. Dive again that is good enough to see them consolidate their position. No emotion from their fellow competitors and their fellow country men and women. Evidence of what we've seen so far. Every reason to believe that it will be another gold medal. Confirmation now after round one. Well, it couldn't have been any tighter for Pairs all side by side in joint first position, not so now. Healthy lead there for Wang Yini. Look at the Russians in the silver medal position, just a touch over 4 points ahead of these two. Penultimate dive, looking to earn themselves a medal for the first time here this year. Oh, and they come here to go for a medal. There's no doubt about that, Reid and Daley. Slightly off kilter there on entry there from Daley. She's been a very polished performer so far today, Grace Reid. Wow, that has thrown the cat amongst the pigeons, hasn't it? Again, keeping things watertight with regard to the difficulty of the dive are the Italians. Off the entry there, not the best there from Elena Bertocci. The entry really from both really needed a repair job to it. I mentioned earlier, round by round, that's where the Italians lose some ground really, and that's where they need to patch things up slightly. So what can the Russians produce now? It's been a splendid, it's been a great competition for them so far. It may just continue to be so as well. Had a good effort there from Bazina and Minibayev. Quite synchronized there. Little sector of the dive. Just about enough time to hit the water there in the end was Minibayev. So for the moment at least, they're in the gold medal position. Huge amount of splash there from the Mexican pair. Could have fooled up the warm down ball with that, but execution, that was way off the radar. So for the moment at least, the Mexicans are in the bronze medal position. Still 3 more dives remaining in the penultimate round. And then Carter of Australia next up. And they looked certainly like they had that dive on the money at the beginning, the end. That was the complete opposite. They're in 5th position, the Australians. They're backwards slightly with every round. And will it be onwards and upwards here for the Canadians? We're looking at 8.5 here, perhaps potentially even a 9. They'll be in contention for a medal. Well, they may just get that, you know. Not 9s, but certainly they should be looking at the 8s. Look at that. I wonder Jennifer Abel is smiling because an excellent response here in the fourth round here by the Canadian pair. Preparation was good. The execution certainly was good. Coordination certainly adequate enough there from Wang and Lee. I've seen them synchronize better before the previous dives, it's fair to say. The execution, well, 9 times out of 10, it's always high. There it is again, confirmation of that. So, when we continue to stretch their legs out there incognito in the gold medal position. How things have changed here now. Canada have outdid the Russians now in the silver medal position. There's nothing in it at all. Still all to play for here in the final round. Oh, Great Britain as well, certainly within with a shout here for the bronze or the silver. Daley and Reid brought their A game to the table here today. Not the best dive from Reid. Daley, well, he set the record straight with that dive after a difficult entry in the last dive. Well, they're diving first here are the British pair, and they have to wait for everyone else to dive as to whether they will get themselves a medal. So just a touch under the 300 mark now. If history is to go by the two previous legs, that won't be enough to get the medal. 304 at Beijing, 324 at Gwangju. They were the scores that got the medals. And the entry didn't make best view in there for the Italians. Face of the coach, that tells the story as well. Sorry to say, we will see better dives there from the Italian pair. Flopped into the water, and that's got to hurt. So low marks there for the Italians. This is where things begin to have a touch more X factor to proceedings. In contention for a medal are the Russians. Well, that may just be enough. Interesting, very interesting. Have another look at the dive. That's where it slightly went awry. They got it back together at the end. Zina and Minibaev have done their best. It's an anxious wait now as to how this is going to play out. It's going to certainly look to be too far behind to get a medal, unless they get themselves a perfect score. That's a good enough dive, but not good enough to get anywhere near a perfect score. Scores from the judges. There it is, 298.74, a warm embrace and a kiss there for the Mexicans. Next up, there's the Australian pair of Kin and Carter. Forward 2.5 somersaults with twist and a pike. Synchronization wasn't quite there. Execution perhaps slightly better. Expected. Execution getting themselves 1-8, the synchronization in the 7. So we will be seeing a medal here for the Canadians. Jennifer Abel and Francois Embo-Dulac. Forward 2.5 somersaults with 2 twists this time. Difficult dive. Well, that's an interesting choice here by the Canadians to round off with a fairly heavy dive, difficulty-wise. It's a decision that perhaps can be vindicated here because it certainly looked okay. There's a warm embrace, blowing kisses to the camera there. Here's Jennifer Abel. And with that, they've outdid Great Britain now with regard to the medal shake-up. So Canada, as we speak, are in pole position in the gold medal position with Great Britain, followed by Mexico. They hold this together. And once again, it is a clean sweep of Chinese gold medals. Should be good enough. That should be good enough. And that will do very nicely indeed from Wang and Li of China. A warm embrace, 2 big smiles, a wave to the camera. Their job is done. They put the cherry on top of the cake with another set of solid scores handed out by the judges. And once again, China have bagged another gold medal. This time it's in the mixed 3-meter synchro springboard final. Things shaken up slightly this time. First medal here in the World Diving Series this year for Grace Reid and Tom Daley of Great Britain. 299.82, good enough this time, and a silver medal for Jennifer Abel and Francois Embo-Dulac of Canada. Nothing to choose between the Mexicans and the Brits. Just a touch over 1 point the difference. Just how tight it was. Disappointing though for the Russians again. Not even a couple of points between them and a medal, but you have to tip your hat and give a lot of praise and credit where credit is due to Grace Reid and Tom Daley. Finally, they get themselves on the podium here at the 3rd attempt. So once again, it is a short break here in Kazan. A wonderful spirit here, wonderful atmosphere inside the Aquatics Palace. For the umpteenth time this year, we will be hearing the Chinese national anthem, not once, not twice, but indeed 3 times here, once the medal ceremony will take place. it is that time again, ladies and gentlemen, where the soldiers march out with their respective flags for the protagonists who got themselves the 3 medals. Once again, it is the Chinese national anthem that will be banded out on the Tanos system 3 times. They've matched their exploits that they achieved at Gwangju with a clean sweep of gold medals once again. Go to the final leg here in the World Series at Windsor. In better shape if they tried. Good day for the Canadians as well. Jennifer Abel getting a couple of medals in 2 disciplines, so she'll be absolutely delighted with that. A bronze medal. Women's 3 meters springboard final. First in this event. Had the best of first days here in Kazan, but she's too good a diver to have 2 bad days, so congratulations to her. It's the second highest score we've seen so far that has been good enough to get a bronze. It doesn't matter who they send to these respective events, they always seem to come out on top. A Chinese 1-2 once again. So Shi and Chang at the first 2 legs. This time it is Shi and Wang. So congratulations to Wang. She makes her way back to China with a silver medal. So there's Shi, onwards and upwards for the youngster. Still plenty of mileage left in her career, so I'm sure she'll be well accustomed to getting gold medals. All of this just adds a touch more ingredients, a touch more flavour, really, for the World Championships this summer in Budapest, Hungary. Certainly should be one of the best aquatics World Championships that we've seen here. A lot of effort and money's been pumped into it, and the Chinese, of course, will be there. So it is a gold double here in Kazan, Russia, for Shi of China. She took one yesterday in the women's 3 meters synchro springboard final, where she paired up with Chang. So it's been a perfect weekend for her. And certainly have to reiterate once again how deserving a bronze medal that is for Jennifer Abel. Next up, it will be the medal to be handed out to the winners in the men's 10 metres platform. On the first day, we saw Chen and Yang pair up. They were very successful, bagging gold in the men's 10 metre synchro. Smiles are plenty there from the ladies. Let's hope the fellas follow suit. So again, the synchronization has been wonderful in the pool, and the synchronization here by the soldiers, just about as good. So bronze it is for the second time for Tom Daley of Great Britain. The final last day for Mr. Daley. Back on the podium very shortly with Reid, of course. Again, a very solid score as well, 543.80. Expected. He would have known that he would have had to have breached the 560, 570 mark to really give himself a chance of getting the gold. So Yang it is. He's on one better than the bronze he received at Gwangju. So he's completed the hat-trick, Chen. Had to sweat a little the last time around. The first time around, I should say, in Beijing. Smooth sailing completely in Gwangju. Slightly more problematic this time, but it was the final round where he just pulled out all the stops, pulled the rabbit out of the hat. Wrestled the grass from Yang, his fellow Chinese diver. It looked odds on that perhaps Yang for the first time would get gold. Touch under 6 points difference. That was too close to comfort really for Chen, but in the end he got the job done. Once again was the Chinese national anthem. Once again is Chinese 1-2. Last but not least, the final medal ceremony. Here's the mixed 3 meter synchro. Perhaps Tom Daley's just held his ground, stayed exactly where he is, because he'll be back on the medal podium. It's a very popular bronze medal. Tom Daley, one of the most popular divers out there. And very quickly back on the podium, this time to receive a bronze medal. Well done to him, and well done also to Reid. Doing a good shift off the board. Beautifully inside her partner, so she's really deserving of that medal. So Daley and Abel made it onto the podium. The event straight now, a silver medal at Gwangju and the bronze at Beijing. So Wang and Li of China once again been the benchmark. Third gold medal here. You certainly wouldn't bet against them making it 4 in Windsor at the end of April. $322.50, the lowest score so far. The third legs that they have had to accumulate, but in the end it was good enough, just about to squeeze out the challenge from Abel and Daley. Plenty of the support inside the Kazan Aquatics Palace. They've made full use of that support, utilised it once again to devastating effect the Chinese. And they sit very proudly on top of the winners' podium once again. with the gold medals. So that just about wraps up proceedings for the third leg of 4 here in the Fina MVC Diving World Series. Be sure to tune into our coverage once again while we bring the curtain down in the 4th and final leg on the 21st of April in Windsor, Canada. It has been a splendid 3 days of action here in Kazan, Russia. And thanks for your company. And for everybody concerned here, last but not least, it is good evening and goodbye for now.